Satnam. Hi Astro friends and family. My name is Karine. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher and also astrologer, and I work on Lada's channel. And today we are going to talk about career and money for 12 signs in 2023. And remember, this is a general reading, so everyone has a different chart. So if you want a specific one for yourself, you can check the link below and you can find the information how to book reading with me. So before we start, it's just a quick introduction how I read the chart and also how you can use this reading. So I use tropical zodiac and the whole sign house system, and I apply Vedic astrology techniques in all my readings. So please don't use any unequal house system for this reading. Traditionally, people use sidereal zodiac and in Vedic astrology. But Ernst Wilhelm, the teacher that I learned from, if you're interested in astrology, you must have heard of this person. And he stopped using sidereal zodiac for Vedic astrology. I think it's in 2005, because he tests tropical and sidereal for all the Vedic techniques. And tropical trumps every time. So that's why he stopped using sidereal for Vedic astrology, I think at least 10 years ago. So this is where and how I learned from him, and this is also how I'm going to do my readings. And usually I use planetary dristis, like each planet, they have a specific eyesight, and when they shoot the eyesight to different places, that also sends the influence to the houses. But because the topic today is about career and money, so I will only mention the aspect, the dristi that is related to this topic. So not every aspect will be mentioned. So Jupiter will be in Aries from 21st of December and will stay in this sign until 16th of May in 2023. So that means right now Jupiter is very soon to entering into Aries and will stay there for at least 5 months. And then Jupiter will enter Taurus from 17th of May, and then we will stay there for a year. So until 25th of May 2024. And Saturn will enter in Pisces on 7th of March and will stay there until 13th of February 2026. So almost 3 years time. But in between, Saturn will enter into Aries for a brief time and then we'll go back to Pisces. So approximately 3 years time. And so this reading is good if you look at from your rising sign as well as your moon sign. In Vedic astrology, apart from the birth chart, they also have this moon chart. So it means that we read everything from the moon's perspective, moon's placements. So your moon signs become your ascendant, your first house. And so you can look at the transits from the moon, and it's called Gochara in Vedic astrology. That's the specific term for that. And you can also, if you like, you can also turn your charts, like your birth chart, and read from your moon placements. Particularly if you're over 50 years old, it's good to look at from your moon chart, because all the planets will be mature during that time. For example, Rahu matures at the age of 42 and Ketu matures at the age of 48. So all the planets and the 2 points, they will be mature. And if you read from your moon, you will also feel more consciously and emotionally connected to the prediction, because moon rules our consciousness and emotions. And this reading, it's not so much about looking at from your sun sign, but if you like listen from your sun sign, you can do that as well. Now, there are several rising signs for next year. They are quite important. They are having a big year next year in 2023. So like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Pisces, and Leo. They all have planets go through their first house, particularly Aries and Taurus. These two signs, they have planets go through their 12th house as well as their first house. So they're having the beginning and also the ending happening at the same time. So this is like big year. Why first house is very important is because when planets transit in the first house, it's the most important transit in life. The first house rules you, your path in life, your identity, who you are. The planets that are transiting through the first house are going to have a profound impact on your growth. And the planets that move through the first house is going to make you who you are, make you become who you're meant to be, and also lay out the path for you. And because the ascendant is always about learning, to becoming the best version of you along the path. So when planets move through the first house, each planet will do what it needs to do to help you to become better in your life. For example, different planets, they have different mission. Particularly when planets move through your first house and go retrograde, becomes extremely important. That's why Jupiter and Saturn, when they transit your first house, is always important, because these two planets, they always they go retrograde when they transit in one sign. Venus, Mercury, and Mars, they are fast-moving planets, but when they transit your first house and go retrograde, they become extremely important. For example, Gemini. Let me just share the screen first. Okay, so for example, Gemini has Mars, the fast-moving planets, moves through the first house and goes retrograde this year in 2022. And this event only happens once every 15 years, so it's very rare. That's why it makes Mars transit extremely significant for Gemini rising. So from August in 2022 until next year, March 2023, almost like 8 months time, Gemini rising can feel like their path going to a more Marsian way. For example, like Mars is about fixing things. So you can find yourself in situations of fixing things, fixing problems, fixing items, or fixing the house. And sometimes you might even find yourself trying to get things done without help, because Mars is the energy that you do something that really matters to you with or without the help. And so you end up learning to do things by yourself. In a way, you've also learned to focus on things that really matters to you and do it on your own. But overall, there's a sense of battle and fight to get things done and get things fixed during this transit. Or it could be that life situations make you fight for yourself, like defend for yourself or defend others. For example, it could be that you're inspired to learn martial arts or Muay Thai, like physical fighting or defending skills. Or circumstances make you learn to stand up for yourself, fight for your worth, fight for your voice. Or it could be that you learn to defend others when you witness unjust situations happen. Or it could be that you get more injured during this transit, because Mars is also about injuries, cutting. Or it could be all of them, depending on the whole chart. But it really boils down to where you are in your life right now. Like you may not have the physical action, like physical fighting with other people during this transit, like people who are 15 years of age. And your maturity level and also life stage determine the experiences during this transit. But overall, there's an element of struggle, fight, and battle. But in the long run, Mars's transit in the first house helps you to learn to stand up for yourself, fight for your worth, and also better fixing things and problems. Career-wise, Saturn will transit into your 10th house in March in 2023. And Saturn will stay there until February in 2026, so almost 3 years' time. And Jupiter will move through your 11th house from December, like right now, 21st of December until mid-May next year. And then Jupiter will change sign into your 12th house from mid-May and will stay there for a year. So let's start with Saturn. Saturn transit through your 10th house is actually a big deal in Vedic astrology's technique, because each planet, they have their own significator house, their key house. And Saturn's key house is the 10th house. So when Saturn transits 10th house, it's like in the beginning of the cycle, Saturn's cycle. So this happens only 28 or 29 years. And we may experience 2 or 3 times of this cycle, depending on how long we live. So it's quite rare. And 10th house rules the deeds that we want to do in this life, and also our ambitions, the beauty that we want to bring to the society. It rules our career path, vocation, work environments, social status, your reputation. So when Saturn moves through the 10th house, it's big. And it's like you start or readjust the developmental period of your professional path. And this is an important time for you to develop your career in a more serious way, or redefine the career path. For example, you love art and you do art casually. But when Saturn moves through the 10th house, you might put all your focus on art because it feels like this is the best thing. This is the greatest thing I want to do in life. So you take a serious action towards the direction, towards the things that you feel that's very important for you. So it's like you're finally taking a big step into the thing that you want to do in life. And Saturn is the planet of work and effort. So when it transits the 10th house, it requires tremendous effort, lots of responsibilities. And whether you are developing your career or taking your career to a next level, it requires tremendous effort, more responsibilities, perseverance, patience to deliver. And Saturn transit in the 10th house can also bring more structure, order, discipline, maturity to your professional path. You might become more productive and order. And then you can also become more mature in how you handle your work environment, and also the interaction with your supervisor. Generally, Saturn transit in the 10th house could also be a fruitful time, but it definitely brings some delays and also more responsibilities, heavy workload. And in Vedic astrology, each planet has its own eyesight, like I mentioned in the beginning, drishti. So when Saturn transit in the 10th house, it's also looking at 7th house. So Saturn is also shooting the influence to the 7th house. 7th house rules contracts, partnerships, trading, any one-on-one communication, any one-on-one relationship. So if you are in a business partnership, or if your work requires to work with other people, collaborations, or arranging things to happen, or to close a deal, sign a contract, Saturn will bring some delays and also challenges in those areas as well, like obstacles that you need to overcome. And you might feel like you need to work extra hard to make contracts happen, to sign, or to push collaborations forward. And you might need to take extra responsibilities in your partnerships or collaborations, like the other person, maybe something happened to them or they're dealing some kind of trouble, and you have to take on more responsibilities in order to make this partnership work. Like I said, Saturn transits 10th house is a big deal. So this is the beginning of Saturn's cycle. So all the hard work, all the duties, responsibilities, challenges, it's like Saturn is preparing you and getting you ready in a bigger way on the things that you're going to do in life. And you finally take important actions towards that direction. So it's huge. Now, Jupiter will move through 11th house from December to mid-May 2023. So from now until next year in May, 5 months time, you can expect some growth, expansion in your network circles, material achievements, support from your friends and community, beneficial connections on the physical, on the personal, business level. 11th house also rules our older siblings and the supports that they can provide you. So money-wise, Jupiter is a significator of wealth. It's growth and expansion. So when it moves through 11th house, the house of gains, money making, recognition, titles, honor, and trophies, you are most likely to increase your assets, your gains, material gains. And you might receive like pay rise, recognition, title for what you do during this time. And 11th house rules our benefactors and friends. So Jupiter transit in the 11th house can also bring some support from those people. It could be that your older siblings, that they bring some opportunities to you, expands your network circles and so on. And Jupiter transit in the 11th house is generally extremely lucky for money, because the 11th house is the house that would make money, profits. So definitely you can see some progression in long-term dreams and goals. Then Jupiter will move into the 12th house from mid-May and will stay there for a year until 2024. So there will be more support. So when Jupiter transits the 12th house, it's actually a huge thing, but you can also expect more opportunities for spiritual awakening, spiritual growth, more opportunities to travel to distant lands, and you can actually have more luck when traveling. 12th house is a house of deep contemplation, subconscious mind. You may grow some interesting spirituality, occult knowledge, spiritual knowledge, psychology, meditation, and so on. And 12th house is associated with medicine, imagination, art, creativity, research, or working behind the scenes. So as I mentioned, Saturn transit in the 10th house is big deal. And this is a critical time for Gemini to take serious actions towards the things that you want to do in life, your vocation, your career path. And at the same time, Jupiter is transiting the 12th house. So it will expand your interest in 12th house things. For example, the things that I mentioned, maybe charity work, maybe astrology, maybe occult study. And you might discover and develop some of the interests in those subjects which you never thought about before. And it might become your potential professional path in the future. And other than that, when Jupiter transits the 12th house is very important, like I said, as first house is the most important house and 12th house is the last house. And usually the beginning and the endings, they are the most important things in astrology. So the lessons that are related to Jupiter are very important and also will be highlighted during this transit, like children, because Jupiter is the significator of children. Husband, Jupiter signifies husband in woman's chart. Money, your wealth, spirituality, spiritual growth, religion, teachers, belief system, and gurus. So these topics will be highlighted. So for Gemini, with Saturn transit in the 10th house, this is a critical time for you to step into, take more serious actions towards the things that you think is very important on your professional path. And this only happens every 28 years, so it's very rare. At the same time, Jupiter transits the 12th house. You're finishing up the things that are related to Jupiter. For example, the topics that I mentioned. Which one is which? It really boils down to your natal chart. So you might recognize or you might realize something and you might let go of something. You might let go of some Jupiterian lessons. So you not just only have a big career year in 2023, you also have a major transition in regards to your life path in 2023. Okay, so that was a brief review about your career and money in the upcoming year. I wish you a year of abundance, support, love, wisdom, and guidance. And if you need a personal reading, you can find the information in the link below. Thank you.